This production comes to you in association with J. Hartley Plastering and Rendering, covering all aspects of plastering and rendering. No job too big or too small. Contact Joe or Jason today on 07871 752 900 to get your quote today.
Well, good evening, folks. Welcome back. It's episode number 11 of Bring On the Salford. I'm your host, Matt Timms. For the next hour, I say next hour, it's probably going to be longer than that. We always aim for an hour and then we always overshoot by a long way. I'm your host, Matt Timms, and joining me as always is the Morecambe to my Wise, the Ant to my Deck. It's Paul Whiteside. How you doing, Paul?
Hiya, Matt. Are you okay, mate?
Fantastic, mate. Not nothing to really grumble about at the moment, which is very, very unusual for me, mate.
No, I'm the same, mate. I had a good week. Finished at what time did I finish work today? Finished about 3:15 today, like school hours, which is very, very rare for me. So that was good. Bit of sunshine as well. Looking forward to go to Sheffield on Sunday. So yeah, all good, mate.
What was your you found a way to the gym, didn't you? What was your session like today? What did you do?
I just did a bit of running. I try and do a couple of runs a week. So I did my 10K run. I try and do it in an hour. So I did it in 58 minutes today. So I did all right, a bit of leg work and that, and then I'll go and do a bit of bag work and that on Thursday when I'm off. Do a bit of boxing Thursday, Friday.
I need to get some cardio back into mine. I've just switched to lifting the heavy stuff, but I feel like I'll get beaten over a few yards at a run now, like whereas 5-6 years ago would have been.
I can't lift a lot really now. I'm not a big lifter. I still try and do my boxing stuff because I'd like to fight again this summer hopefully. But just doing all that just to keep fit really. You know, just keep me ticking over. So I enjoy it though. It's good. It's good to stay in gym and keep active, isn't it?
Happy days, mate. Happy days. And for the Eagle Eye viewer as well, joining us tonight for this episode, we are delighted to say we've got Matty Ross with us. How you doing, Matty?
All right, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for coming on. We're really looking forward to, I guess, trying to break down some of that game against Doncaster on Sunday with you, and then getting to know you a little bit better a little bit later on. Which let's be honest, at this point, everyone loves, and that's the bit they tune in for. They could do without me doing the waffle at the start. But let's get straight into it tonight, then, lads. So we've got from news around the club then. So last Wednesday, the club announced that tickets are now on sale for that game against Widnes. That's a real test, that game. I'm looking forward to that game. Probably a little bit of a better chance playing them at home. We seem to have a bit of momentum in our home form at the moment, so looking forward to that game. Then the club then put a piece of news out on Friday. It was late on Friday afternoon. I think it was like 3 or 4 o'clock, and it was a statement around a few things, wasn't there? There was the statement around the search for a new head coach. A little bit of an update on players, including some injuries and some players that had been let go, and then an update on the women's team as well. Really interestingly, and I'll bring your viewing on this, Paul. The one thing I took out of it, and I don't think a lot of people sort of noticed this within the statement, but I think what Ryan and co have found now is that they said that they viewed the head coach role to be a permanent and a long-term and a full-time role, which I think is a marked difference from the start of the season, because I'm sure Mike was part-time when we started this season.
Yeah. I thought that because in a funny sort of way, I thought if we did you must be doing something else, because if you're a full-time coach and you've got a lot of part-time players, what you're going to be doing all week, because the players are all going to be at work, aren't they? So you'll be sat twiddling your thumbs on your own, won't you? So it must be to me that there's another role involved in it as well, like maybe an admin role, a director of rugby, doing other sorts of stuff that I'm not really au fait with really, but you know what I mean, don't you? So but I was surprised when I saw that because, obviously a full-time coach is going to want, a full-time wage, aren't they? And there's a part of me that keeps thinking, should we be front loading a bit more money on the squad and things like that? I know some supporters are saying that, but it was a surprise. But if you get a full-time coach and somebody with a lot of experience, it stands you in good stead, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
there's another part of me that thinks I like Dave Hewitt. I mean, I think Dave's great. Spoke to Dave a few times. I like what he's doing. I like what he's done with the team. I know the players. Matty will be able to tell us all about Dave, but all the players we spoke to, think he's a good communicator and a good person as well. So if we do bring somebody in, I really, really hope Dave Hewitt stays. I'd love Dave to stay, but I'd love to see who's applied for it, mate. I think it'd be really interesting to see who's applied for the job. But it's exciting, if we can get somebody on a full time, basis with experience and that who can help us, start climbing the ladder again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the statement made reference, didn't it, to applicants from this country, from in the UK, and also from Australia as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
I've seen a few comments around, people are sort of desperate for Dave Hewitt to get the gig. My sort of view on this, and I don't mind saying this on record, is that if he was going to get it, I think he would have already got it. I think in the spell that we've had, that would have been the announcement that had been made. And I know Dave's got a successful career away from rugby as well, and I think that's probably maybe the difference between him staying, as head coach, it being a part-time role, and looking for someone full-time. So I'd see that as a bit of a blocker, and I 100% agree with all the people who are saying give it Dave Hewitt, because actually his rugby IQ, having spoken to him a few times, and from what we hear from the lads, is like second to none. I do think though that move to it being a full-time role is probably the blocker to that.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the things that became apparent was that, and you just hit the nail on the head, that the lads really like Chewy. And that's, we spoke to, I spoke to Toby Hughes, didn't I, after the Batley game. And he was telling us, sort of how much admiration he had for Dave Hewitt and some of the changes that the lads had seen since he'd taken over the role on a temporary basis. Matty, I'll ask for your view on that. I mean, not to put you on the spot or anything, we haven't prepped you for this, but what's your view on Dave as the interim coach at the moment?
No, I think he's been class since he's come in. Obviously he was involved anyway, obviously under Mike, but he's sort of come in, put his own twist on things, and he's just sort of simplified the game a bit more for us and broke stuff down a bit more and like been patient with us. And he's starting to get a tune out to lads, isn't he? As obviously you've noticed with results and stuff like that. And I remember him saying about like he likes using the squad and maybe not going to loan if you don't have to, and things like that. And I think he's really backed us as a group, and it's probably upped our confidence in that sense. So I think he's been class since he's come in, to be fair, and I get on with him really well. He's dead approachable and just a nice lad, really, Dave.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was under Dave, I think, that we played our first full squad of our own players, I think, wasn't it? What game was that, Paul? You'll remember. It wasn't Halifax, was it? It was after that, wasn't it?
Was it the Swinton game?
Swinton game, wasn't it?
Yes, won it. Yeah. Yeah, we had no loans for that game, did we? Yeah.
I think that was the second game, because I remember me and you sat in the West Stand. Was it definitely not Halifax?
Do you know what? There's someone in me that's saying Halifax as well. I'll have to get the team sheet and have a look. But I think the Halifax game as well. I don't remember us bringing a load of loan players in for that week, but definitely this Swinton game, we didn't have loan players for that game, did we?
No, I just remember me and you sat in the West Stand because you said it. You'd seen it on X, hadn't you?
Yeah, I think
Paul
had put it on. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I think you're right. I think them two games we sort of went with what we had really and did well as well, didn't we? In both the games, could have beat Halifax really.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just see what comes out of that. Like I say, there was other announcements within that around a couple of injuries within the team. I think it mentioned Charlie Glover's had surgery. There was a couple of niggly injuries, weren't there, as well? I think to Joe Hartley and to Toby Hughes as well, that were referenced within that, and then a couple of the lads and people all have read that by now. So everyone who's kind of shown up for us this season, we wish them well going forward. So that was the statement that the club put out on Friday. Today, which is really unusual because the club have a habit of announcing signings the day after we record, and then that's when you get your dog walking video. But yeah, the club announced the signing of Cole Oakley from the North Wales Crusaders on a 2-year deal through to 2028. He's predominantly a back rower, actually. I think he's played something like 90 games. And unless my intel is naff, he actually made his debut against Salford for Warrington back in 2020, which was actually at the car pack. I can see you thinking, Paul.
Yeah, because I went to them games in the COVID season because I was covering the Salford radio and that and Devil in the Detail. And we beat Warrington twice in a week. We beat them in a league game and we beat them in the cup, didn't we?
So that was the league game.
Cup semi one. Yeah, we beat them at home.
So in the league, we beat them 2018, and that was on.
Yeah.
It was on a Tuesday night, 5:30.
It was
Tuesday the 29th of September, and Cole Oakley was named on the bench for that game, and I believe that was his debut game as well.
Yeah, then we beat them. Did we beat them in the semi then at the weekend? Beat them on a Saturday, didn't we? Played them at Saints and was that there? Oh, hang on, because we beat Kettle and then we beat Warrington. All blurs that 2020 season and around that time, it all blurs to me. But yeah, no, it's a good start that if he played against us like. So I was reading a little bit about him, and it sounds like he's been around a bit and got a lot of experience. I think he's been at Halifax and Hornets. He's been loaned out quite a bit, hasn't he? So
he has.
So yeah, and he looks. I mean, I don't know if he's a big lad or not, but he's a back rower, isn't he? So
back rower,
25, isn't he as well? So. And he's been offered. Is it a 2-year deal? He's got 2.5-year deal.
Well, it says through to 2028. Now I don't know whether that means through to the start of that season or through to the end of it. I mean, it's a 2.5-year deal, isn't it? If it's through to the end of 2028, so and that might be true. It might be a 2.5-year deal, which would be in line, I guess, with Toby's deal as well. We're into the end of 2028.
Yeah, do you know what I was thinking the other day? I think I texted you today saying we're building a good little pack there. I think.
Yeah.
Brought in. I think, with Jack Bibby, he's a good player. It's all about getting players in now and building, and we're doing that. With the lads we've got, Sam Bowring, who's mentioned before, we've got a bit of experience in there. And that's what it's all about because we started from nothing, really, didn't we? So we're piecing things together, and that's a good thing. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing him play.
I mean, the first hurdle I commented on the club's post before. The first hurdle was getting a team out, wasn't it? And that was,
of course, it was. Yeah.
That was a phenomenal achievement in itself to have a team out against Oldham. But the way we've built around that pack since then shows intent to me, and it shows the desire to want to compete with teams up and down the league, irrespective of where they are. I mean, Cole's career, he's got more than a handful of clubs that he's played for. Spent most of his time actually at North Wales, so probably well known to Toby Hughes from his time at North Wales as well, and Dave. Dave will have picked him up because he was at North Wales, I guess. I think previously as well. I think that's how. Because I think Toby and Dave know each other from them North Wales times. If I remember what Toby Hughes said when he came on this show as well. But yeah, 14 appearances for Hunslet back in 22, and then like I say, predominantly from there, been at North Wales, so played 36. 44, 50 odd times for North Wales across a couple of different spells with the club. So it brings us for me, and I said this to you when I messaged you earlier on, it provides more competition now for those places, doesn't it? So I was kind of going, you've got Owen Haldenby who can play second row, you've got Ollie Garmson who can play second row. I wonder whether now that moves him properly out to the centre. I say move out like it's a bad thing, but move him more permanently to centre. You've got Reece Stanton, and now you've got Cole Oakley all fighting for those positions. That second row position, haven't you?
Yeah, it gives you a bit of cover as well, Matt, doesn't it? I mean, you've got players there who are playing 80 minutes every week. They've had no pre-season. They're part-time as well. You're working all week. It takes a bit of pressure off you, don't you, if you've got somebody else there covering for you. You've got a bit of cover on the bench as well. You're not having to play 80 minutes every week because it must be a tough gig. It must be tough working all week grafting and then turning up on a Friday night when you drove back from somewhere. It's hard going. It's totally different to playing professional rugby league. I don't care what anybody says. It's a difficult gig, and we've not got a massive squad. We're finding that, and to me, you're better off having a bigger squad rather than every time somebody gets a knock or an injury, have to go and loan somebody out for a week. To me, that doesn't work. Oldham or whoever, can we borrow him for a week? Let's have our own squad with our own players. And I think now that we're building it, we're putting people on 2-year contracts. It's showing a bit of continuity now. So hopefully when next season starts, we've got lads who were there this season, and keep it going.
I mean, I might eat my words on this at some point, but I've no doubt that the start of this season was the hardest, part of the rebuild. Because, like you say, from next year onwards, they have a pre-season, they have time together. You're bringing in one or two rather than 10 or 12 players in, aren't you, to do like a rebuild? And that pre-season, I mean, for us has probably been the difference between winning a couple of games and losing a couple of games. We might have gone away and won that Halifax game had we had a pre-season and stuff like that, so
there's not many clubs that have had to do what we've had to do. There's not many clubs that have been completely decimated by the previous regime, the previous owners. Then I won't wish it on anybody, but there's not many clubs that have had to do that. So I mean, what we've done is remarkable, really, to get a team out there and the staff and the supporters and everybody sort of come together and got this far. And we sat there on 3 wins, and I don't think that's bad at all, really. We've made great progress from where we were, I think, at the start of the season. Getting absolutely tonked at like Workington and that. I know we got well beat at Doncaster, but I think we've improved week on week, and that's the only way is up, isn't it?
You won't. I don't think you'll mind me saying this. I'm not sure whether you said it on the podcast, but you came away from Workington. You were having a chat with your dad, weren't you? And you were kind of scratching your head, going, "I'm not sure where we're going to get wins this season." So to be on 3 wins at this point, following those performances earlier on in the season, I say chalk and cheese a lot on this podcast, but it is, isn't it? The performances in the last handful of weeks against the likes of Batley, Halifax, and Hunslet going further back. That was another phenomenal performance, wasn't it? That's a far cry from where we were in those games, like Barrow and Workington, when we were coming away from those games and wondering whether we were going to get any points.
The Workington game was a shock for me, to be honest with you. I watched over a long time, and it's one of the lowest points, I think, watching them, because we were totally outplayed. We had a load of lads on loan, people coming in for that Parsi played from St Helens and 1 or 2 of them. And I thought, God, is this the club I've sort of grown up watching? Now it's just falling apart, really. To get hammered like that, it was down to earth, and you're thinking, where do we go from here? But there's always next week, isn't there? There's always next week, and you sort of moan about it on the way home. I had a chat with my dad and that, and we were whinging and moaning and saying what's going to happen. But that's the way. That's rugby league. That's your club. So we knew you just got to get better in the team, haven't you? And you whinge about it. And my dad said to me loads of times in the past, "God, I'm not going again. I'm not driving there." When I was a kid, but you do, because the next week comes, you're up for it, and you just go, don't you? It's your club and you love them. So I won't be without them. So, but it was. I think this season's just made me realise how difficult it's going to be. And it does take a bit of time to get your head around things. I've said this a few times to people about your expectation as well. Getting your expectations and just levelling them out. I mean, you could go to games and be furious, couldn't you? Think, God, why are we getting stuffed again this week? But it's just the way it is. The players have got to learn, and everybody has, and we've all just got to do it together.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. You mentioned it there. Good morning, Andy, if you're listening. A little bit of a shout out there. I just wanted to kind of reference that, because like I say, the performances that we've seen recently are very different to those earlier performances, and a lot of that comes down to I keep saying about stability and consistency, and a lot of it's coming down to that nucleus of a team, and then you're stitching players onto it rather than sort of having the knitting needles and not having a stitch on there, aren't you? So that's, if anyone's listening from the knitting community, I absolutely butchered that little bit of a monologue there. So yeah, forgive me. Don't come at me in the comments. Right, cool. Let's move on from the news around the club then. Normally we'd do the look around the league at this point. I'm going to do that after this, because we're going to look forward at some of the fixtures for this weekend rather than review the scores from the round of the 1895 Cup from the weekend. But we will start with a review of the game against Doncaster. So Paul, I'm probably going to come to you for the bulk of this. You were there on Saturday. Let's get your opinion and your sort of view of the game first, and I'll bring Matty in and see what his view of the game was later on.
Oh, it was a difficult game. I think we knew it was going to be a difficult game. But to be honest with you, I thought it was a vast improvement to the league game. We lost the league game by 70 points. It was 78-8 it was. And, for vast periods of that game, it was funny we kept them out. I think it was 12-0, and we sort of conceded tries in clusters. And it was funny, really, because I think they scored one try 10 minutes into the second half, and then they didn't score again until 9 minutes from the end, when they scored 4 tries in the last 9 minutes. So for long periods of the game, I thought we did well. I thought we had a real good go. It was just, we never really looked like scoring, Matt, to be honest with you. We had one chance in the first half, and Reece Stanton, it was a forward pass. He thought it was over the line, Reece, and he dropped the ball, but it was forward anyway. And it was the only real chance. Finn Yates created that. I think there's a couple of times where he kicked through. He had a really good game in Finley Yates. I thought it was great. Sean Costello as well moved into loose forward and played like the old-fashioned ball, playing loose forward, and took the ball to the line against a big Doncaster pack. No, they're massive. They're absolutely huge, Doncaster. And I didn't think they got out of second gear, really, mate. I think they had one eye on London next week. But when they clicked, they brought Paulie off the bench, who played for us in Cup final in 2020. He's absolutely massive. He was coming onto the ball, and it was taking like 4 players to stop him, and the offload game as well. So, and I said it to, I speak to after the game, Jack Bibby was talking to Jack, and I said to Dave Hewitt, they're the best side we played this season. I don't give a toss what anybody says about London. They're as good as London, I think, on the day. And they play London this week, don't they? So that'll be a good game. Yeah. But yeah, it was difficult. It was a fantastic effort. You couldn't criticise the players at all. They gave everything, but Doncaster just been too big, too strong, and that was that, really.
Matty, what about yourself?
I think Paul's just hit the nail on the head. They've got a lot of big lads, big park, quite a lot of experience. A lot of them players in that team have played Super League. And Paul, like Paul said, I watched it with Mrs. on couch, and I think for parts of the game, Salford stood up to them really well. And it was just them little clusters of 5-10 minute spells where they're conceding 3 or 4 tries. I think second half they went pretty well as well. A spell didn't concede for 15 minutes or something like that, and he went set for set. Obviously, it was going to be difficult anyway. I think with we had obviously it was good to see Lewis playing as well. Lewis Pillen made his debut, didn't he? But obviously we had a bit of a new spine there as well. With Toby not playing, who's been the halfback since we started. Obviously, and Jacob Andrew Smith as well made his debut, didn't he? He come off the bench, so it was a good game as well to give them lads the opportunity to play. And I think all of them stepped up really well, especially against, like you said, a Doncaster side who are going to be up there with London. And I think same as Paul, I think they're best in London. I've played against both of them, and I think they could have a good chance of beating them at weekend. So
interesting game, that one this weekend. I mean, Doncaster's prize for getting round us in the last round is another trip to London in the 1895 for the quarterfinals. Well, yeah, they play them this weekend. I think it's Sunday, 3:00 they play them. So that'll be an incredibly tough game, and a difficult one to call, I think, as well. I was talking when we had Sam Bower on last week. Is it a game we needed? It's one of them games where, you look at it on the face and you're kind of thinking, let's just come away injury free from it, But as Matty said then, and made a really good point of it, there's players who made the debut who, had we not been in this round of the 1895 Cup, might not have played this weekend, or might not have made a debut this early on in the season. So, bit of kind of a bit of a silver lining, isn't it, to that? You've got a couple of players there, and the club did something really nice. Actually, they did like a presentation for Lewis Pilling, didn't they, for his debut with his shirt and stuff like that, and they put that on social media. I thought that was really nice. But yeah, it was kind of one of them games. I mean, realistically, a very, very, very tough game to think that we were going to win, or to predict, Paul, from mine and your perspectives, that we'd have gone there and won. So yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to say on that Doncaster game, Paul? It's one of them. I don't really want to spend loads of time on it, given that
there's not really. I mean, I enjoy all the games. I enjoy the day out and what have you, and I did enjoy the day. I knew it was going to be tough, and like you said, I think the silver lining for me was Lewis Pilling making his debut, and I thought he did really well. For a lad, I think he's only 18, and against that pack, he never stopped working. And he showed some really nice touches, and you look at the lad and you think, Yeah, he's got a bit about him. He's got something there. So,
Yeah.
you know, he could have gone into his shell and got absolutely battered, but he didn't. He kept trying to tap the line and trying to make things work. I thought Jack Gadcliffe stood up really well as well because, you know, Jack's been moved about. I mean, I like Jack playing as a bit of an interchange hooker, but when he's come in and been asked to play at half back, he got clattered in second half as well. And it's funny because Jack maybe got sinned in for, I think he was giving away 2-6 again, and Jack Gadcliffe gets absolutely flattened off the ball. And yet there's no sin binning, so I thought that was a bit unlucky, really. But no, I thought the lads gave a really good effort. I thought Sean Costello was good as well, and yet it's just another learning curve, and it's another game under your belt as well.
Yeah. Did you mention to me that Reece Stanton was hobbling a bit towards the end of the game?
He was hobbling for the last 15 minutes, but
Yeah,
he put his hand up. He didn't come off.
No.
Got his nut down and carried on. But it looked like he was struggling a bit. I think he got walloped in the tackle. I know Sam Bowring got bashed in the tackle as well. I tell you, the size of some of their forwards, mate, they're really big lads, aren't they? And I think it was that Watson Bowes, the halfback as well. You know, the Freemo on the wing, the whole team of them, they're just a really big side. There was a lot of battered and bruised bodies because I went down to do some interviews after the game, so I was pitch side and walking off the lads, and they look some really battered and bruised bodies. So, you know, anybody who says like, you know, he got hammered, but you look at them and you think, God, they've worked the backsides off, and you can't ask for any more than that, mate.
No, you know what, you really can't, mate. Like, you know, I think what we've seen this season is that when lads are given the opportunity to play, again, it comes back to that same conversation about when we've had, you know, players on here this season, that we've got good people on here, hard-working people. And I think the attitudes that we see on the pitch reflect the attitudes that we find that when we talk to people on here. So actually, yeah, because like I say, I'll hold my hands up. I was kind of going, you know what, it's a game we don't really need. But actually, when you've got a couple of debuts coming out of it the way that they have done, and delightful he was Pilling as well, because he was with us previously as well. I think he was with us in academy through to open age, and I think that was when. So I think he turned the age for kind of senior at the time that the club was, you know, going through what it was going through last season. If I remember rightly, I think that's the timeline of events. I think he was brought back as one of the first players. I think it was like the 9th of Jan or something like that. He was announced as coming back. So, yeah, absolutely delighted for him as well. Let's wind that Doncaster review up there. Then we're going to do a little bit of a preview towards the game versus Sheffield. Another bit of a tough ask, I think, this weekend. But before we do that, rather like I say, normally we'd have a look back at the results, but let's have a look forward at the fixtures and just see what's what from this weekend around the Betfred Championship. So Saturday we've got Newcastle versus Barrow. That's a 4 o'clock kickoff. That's a really weird kickoff time on a Saturday. I suppose actually it's not that far though, is it? If you're going sort of across the A66 that way or the A69, whichever it is. I know I was going to say that's really boring, but I'm sure people find that as interesting as I did. I know you did, mate. Sunday.
No.
You do, mate. You do. You love it. Sunday, Swinton Lions versus Keighley Cougars at 2 o'clock. Batley versus Goole at 3. Doncaster versus London at 3. That's going to be a cracker, that one. Oldham versus Workington at 3. Rochdale and Dewsbury. Sheffield and Salford, obviously. Whitehaven and Hunslet. Widnes and Halifax. I don't know why I said all the others were 3 o'clock. All of them were, apart from the Swinton game, and then the Newcastle game was 4 o'clock on the Sunday. A couple of tasty fixtures within that. Obviously, Doncaster and London. That'll be. I use the word slobberknocker quite regularly because I'm a wrestling fan as well. So yeah, that'll be a cracker. Widnes and Halifax has got all the ingredients there to be a really good contest as well, hasn't it? Contest on Sunday afternoon as well. Widnes Vikings have just loaned out Jordan Abdul actually to our opponents on Sunday in a bit of a weird move, because I'd heard that it was going to be like a permanent transfer, but they've loaned him for a month, which it is what it is. But he'll well, I'm going to say ill faces on Sunday. I'd heard a rumor that he'd picked up a bit of a niggle. But yeah, that Widnes Halifax game, Paul, that's got all the ingredients there to be a cracker, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think, did they beat Barrow at weekend, Halifax? I think they did, didn't they, in the league, because they played a league game, didn't they? And it was 1895, but I'm sure Halifax beat Barrow in the league because they're eating away at that points deduction they got, and they're playing some really good stuff. So I'm sure they beat Barrow at the weekend. But Go on, I'll let you do the.
No, they lost to Barrow. It was
Did they lose to Barrow? They
26-20.
were winning. All right.
Yeah, it was
Close game,
26.
wasn't
It was 26-20. You are right. There was. I didn't even spot that there was a championship game.
Yeah, that was it. I know they were winning. I didn't see the full time score, but no, they're doing well. That'd be a good game. I know Rochdale Hornets as well. I think they deserve a bit of a shout out because they're really good winning the 1895. They beat Sheffield and they've gone really well in the league as well for a side that was in League One last season. I think they've made a really good fist of it this time, doing good things there at Scotland. So pleased for them, really pleased for them. Who else was going to mention there? Keighley Swinton. That's a big game. Swinton Swinton's still without a win, aren't they? So got a new coach there. There's a bit of I don't want to say pressure on him, but there's pressure on Swinton to get off the bottom and get a victory. So in the London Doncaster game, they had a poster actually. Well, not a poster on the big screen at Doncaster. They have a big screen at Cornington's football ground, and it said on there they're advertising it as something to do. What did it say now? The battle for Super League or something like that. That's what they were billing it up as.
Wow.
For them against London. So, fair play to them. I hope they get a big crowd and it's a good day because it's two good sides there with some good players and let's hope people get behind it and go because that'll be a good game. That'll be a really good game to watch.
No, it absolutely will. Matty, you a bit of an aficionado around the championship yourself. Is there anything catching your eye out of them fixtures, mate?
I just think that London game is going to be a cracker. I think just all the pressure really is on London. That's why it's going to be interesting to see how they cope. I don't think they've had any real pressure on them at the minute. I think most teams they've played, they've sort of palmed off and ended up running away with the game. So it's going to be interesting, if Doncaster put up a fight, how they're going to react to it. So I think that's going to be the game for definitely watch out for.
Yeah, I was just trying to think then if London have gone close with anyone, but I don't think they really have they? I mean, they played, was it Hunslet in the 1895 over the weekend?
No, Hunslet played Oldham.
Keighley, sorry, it was Keighley. And Keighley put up not bad numbers in that game. I think it was pretty tight at half time. I think London had probably kind of thought, well, we'll walk through it. Yeah, Oldham was in my head as well because I saw their result before and they were the same. And some of their fans were saying the same. Like the first half was like first gear, like literally didn't come out first gear. Went in, I think, was it 16-all at half time and then run out something like 82-16.
Yeah, they're losing 24-18, and then they come back and won 72-24 or something. I don't know how many unanswered points they scored in the second half, but they blew Hunslet away in that second half, didn't they? So they must have gone some to score all them points.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Rochdale before. I think their reward for winning in the last round is Goole. I think in the next round.
It's at Scotland as well.
It is at Scotland,
the Crown Oil Arena as they call it these days. But it's Scotland to me, that's a good draw for them. And it'd be great if they could get through. I mean, I remember going back a bit now, they got to Lancashire Cup final, Rochdale, was it 91, something like that. I think that's the last biggest final they played in, a long time ago. But yeah, Andy Mays is the chairman there, and I know Andy quite well, and he's a nice bloke, and they're trying to do big things there. And it's, I would say a sleeping giant, but it's proper rugby league town. Rochdale Hornets, pretty famous club, aren't they? So it's good to see a team like that doing well and coming up on the rails. But they've got a decent little squad there. So good luck to them. Shame we don't play them this season. Be a bit of a derby for us, wouldn't it? It's a bit of a shame we miss them in the fixtures.
It's a major shame we don't play them. And I've said this a few times. Like when we had the rework fixtures out the back of Featherstone going under, it just felt like a no-brainer to get that fixture going against Rochdale. Should we look forward to Sheffield Eagles then this weekend? I should have brought this up really, and I can see I think my camera's struggling to keep up with me because I'm trying to do too many things at once. But Sheffield have made a little bit of an indifferent start, haven't they, to this season? They started off quite hot, if I remember rightly. Of course, Rugby League and then tables takes you straight to Super League because nothing exists outside of Super League, does it?
Super League.
Absolutely. Yeah, Super League. Right, so just having a quick look at the table while I'm bringing some stuff up for that Sheffield game then. So Sheffield currently sit in 8th position. Played 8, won 5, lost 3. But they got a proper hammering against Doncaster a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
for the South Yorkshire Cup. I can't remember if that's the right name for it or whether it's something else, but it was something like that. You have a little cup between them, but they got a bit of a walloping in that from Doncaster. Obviously, Craig Lingard is the head coach over at Sheffield, a man with a lot of experience, a man last season who was the head coach of Castleford Tigers. Brings a wealth of experience and knowledge, certainly around around the championship as well. And will be again, I keep saying will represent a different task, and I think every game we've played this season has sort of represented a different task and a different challenge going into it. And I think Sheffield is another one of those games, isn't it, Paul?
Oh yeah, certainly. I think they're struggling at the moment, aren't they, with injuries? I know they got that Jordan Lilly who played at Leeds and Bradford. And I think he's got a bit of a knock, and that's why they brought Abdul in, haven't they, from Widnes on loan. But there's some good players in that squad, and Sheffield have been a good side for a number of years, haven't they? I know Mark Aston were the coach for donkey's years, weren't they? And they're always up there and challenging for the playoffs and things like that. So yeah, it'd be a tough game. That I think it'd be a tough game. But I was surprised, like you said about the Doncaster game a few weeks ago. I was really surprised by that result because I know they had started the season really well. Yeah. But no, I think it'd be another difficult game for us. But I think we've got to take a bit of confidence from our last few league games, and take it into that game. But it's not going to be easy. There's no doubt about that. Sheffield have got some players who've played at a high level, haven't they? I think there's Matty Dawson-Jones played at Sheffield.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he's on their books, isn't he? I'm not too sure who else is, to be honest. I've not had a proper look this week, but they've got some good players in the squad, so it'll be a test for us.
They've lost 4 out of the last 5, so obviously they lost to Rochdale at the weekend. Apologies, I'm a little bit hoarse tonight. I say I'm a little bit hoarse. I'm more Shetland pony than anything else at the moment. But yeah, I knew you'd like that one. But yeah, they lost to Hornets at the weekend in the 1895, but they've lost 3 of the last 4 championship games. However, let's just be clear on this, right? One of those games was Doncaster. After that, they played London. The win in that spell was against Dewsbury, but then they lost at home against Oldham. So they're a team that are beatable, home or away, and the form shows that, and the teams that they've played who've beat them show that. It represents a different challenge for us, obviously. And, at this point, everyone knows we record this on a Tuesday night. We don't get squad announcements till later in the week. The club will surprise us and announce about 4 loan signings, I'm guessing, at some point. And then I end up going, we've got 4 loan signings going in this weekend, which is just what happens. It happens every time. But we love it. We love the jeopardy of recording earlier in the week. But I think where we're at the moment, so, if Reece has took that knock that we think he has towards the end of the game, does Cole Oakley come into the team then? I'm not sure whether he's, in the last few games for North Wales has been playing, so I don't want to comment on fitness or anything like that. But I'm sure this is a game that Chewy will be looking at and thinking, you know what? This is an opportunity to go and give a good account of ourselves, and they're not in great form. If we were having this conversation and they'd won 4 out of 5, I'd kind of be going, this is going to be a really tough ask. But I think all we can ask for now is what we've seen, in those games like Halifax, Hunslet, Batley, where we start to see players performing at 8s and 9s. Because that'll stand us obviously in the best stead, thinking about things like the basics, like tackle completion, set completion, and that'll stand us in the best stead, I think, for the game this week. And Matty, I'll come to you. I mean, yeah, what's your view on Sheffield as a proposition this weekend?
Yeah, I know, like you said, I think it's a weird one, isn't it? Because you think they've lost a few, it's a perfect time for playing, but then you can reverse it and think, the tails are going to be up. It's a bad time for playing, it's never a good or bad time. But I think, obviously, they can take a lot of confidence, Salford, from the last game against Batley. I know they had a couple of loan lads in because we had injuries and whatnot, but I think the lads did really well that game. So, if anything, we should be going into that confidence again, and hopefully they can do a job. Dave always talks about, like you just said, completion. He nails on about completion all the time. And I think some games, like Paul mentioned about the Workington game, it was shocking. Like, sure, it was less than 50%, I think, when we was at half time. And that was one of the things we spoke about. And ever since then, you've just been nailing completion. And when we've won games, completions come up a lot because we've been over like 80-85%, which tells a story, doesn't it? So
when we won against Hunslet, we were 100% in the first half. I said this last week. When we beat Hunslet, we were 100% in the first half. When we beat Batley, we were 100% in the second half. And I don't care how good the opposition is at that point. If you're completing anywhere above 90%, teams are going to struggle to keep you out for that. If you're completing at that level, the floodgates have to open at some point. You can't defend like that against a team for 80 minutes, can you? You just can't do it. No. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So again, different proposition this weekend, and I say that every time. I know I keep saying it. Injury news. I'm just trying to think if we know what's going on. So I think from what I understood about Joe Hartley's injury, he's probably there or thereabouts, but I don't know if he'll be back for this weekend. I think he probably reckoned there was something like 3 weeks when when did we catch him? Was it after the Batley game? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was after the Batley game. I think there was still a couple of weeks left on that injury, and I'm not sure he's going to be at full fitness for it. So probably quite a similar team to the one I was going to say that played at Doncaster, but I don't think that's quite true because I wonder whether Toby's fit again for the next game. We'll have to obviously we won't know until we see the squad, but I'd hope that we've got Toby back in the halves, and then kind of just see where we go from there. Like I say, we give a score prediction. We'll do that in a minute anyway. We give a bit of a squad prediction and try and work out, how the jigsaw fits together. But there could be loan signings at this point, so it's hard to speculate on it. And we have to do the prediction based on what we know right now. So, Paul, over to you.
Well, just thinking about that, he said about like players coming back there, Toby Hughes and Joe Hartley and people. I think for me, if I was Dave Hewitt, I'd be looking at it. If anybody's a bit doubtful this week, I'd probably give them the benefit of the doubt and leave them because next week we've got a week off anyway. We don't play against the Widnes, do we? So rather than risk people now, it's a good time to just not say, put the Sheffield game on the rack. Like if you fit, aren't you? But if somebody's not a bit of a doubt, we've got another week, and then we've got an home game. We can really front load for that home game. So my score prediction. I'm trying to fool you there and dive around the question.
No, you bang on, and I think that's why. Understanding that Joe was out for sort of 3 weeks and we're coming up to 3 weeks. And I kind of think if there's any doubt in there, I think exactly the same as you. Yeah. It's not worth the risk against, for that one game versus another, 2 weeks worth of rest. Well, or strength and conditioning. And then going into that Widnes game, which at home, you fancy anyone at home this season.
And we have another week off after Widnes, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got...
And then we play Halifax away.
Yeah, that's a tough game, isn't it? But at least we've got a bit of time now where, you can rest the bodies, can't you? And like we were saying before, when you're part-time and that, we'll probably bring Matty in on this. What is it like when you get these weeks off, Matty? Does it come as a help to you, that really? Because, you're working all week and you get that free weekend. Does it give you a bit more time to sort of rest up and have a bit of recovery?
Yeah, it is. It is nice. I think at the start of the season, we had a week off at some point and we actually went doing some hill sprints, for do a bit of catch up in pre-season, and it was a bit of team bonding because we went for a coffee and that afterwards, and that was good, to be fair. I was dreading it, but we actually all enjoyed it. But yeah, when you've been working all week and that, it is nice to get, a weekend off, especially like, the run of fixtures Salford's had, and obviously the roller coaster at the minute that they're on. It is nice to rest your body up a bit, and all lads will say the same. So have that weekend off. Just give you an extra bit for recharge for the week after, like you said before about having a week off after Sheffield. It's nice to get lads back and hopefully get a few familiar faces back then.
Yeah, and don't forget, Matt, we've had a lot of trips away from home this season. Well, we've been to London twice, haven't we? We've had 2 trips to Cumbria, so the fixtures haven't been easy to us, have they, either?
No, that's it. We've had a tough run of fixtures, haven't we, really? Like you said, I know some weeks it feels like we've not been at home for ages. I don't know if we had a spell of 3 away games, something like Arrott Road, and they're tough. Like, it don't matter. You get them at home anyway. It's the same team, but you know, it's the travelling as well, like you said, the long trips and going places like Barrow and stuff like that. Like that was a tough one to get out of the way at the start of the season.
No, you bang on the 3 away games. Yeah, Doncaster, Workington, and London. Yeah, not kind fixtures. I mean, I keep saying this about that run of 5, like towards the end of the season, and I keep talking about that because every time I look at the fixtures, it catches my eye that run of 5 at home. Where hopefully we'll probably be in the straps by then. But Paul, you keep asking questions to swerve it, mate. What's your score prediction, pal?
I know I'm trying to get away with it then. I'm going to back us to win. I think it'll be a tight game again. I'm hoping something like that Batley game. Let's have a think now. Sheffield 16, Salford 19.
Okay. I think we'll concede a little bit more, not much more, but I nearly said 28-29 then just to really be on trend with Batley. But I think 28-24 to us. So 24-28. Matty, do you want to do a prediction while you're on, mate?
Yeah, will do, yeah.
Yeah, go on, go for it.
I think...
Win a Costa, by the way, if you get it banged on.
Do I?
Yeah.
I'd say I'm going for the Salford win. I'd say 25-18.
We're all there or thereabouts, aren't we? No one's getting a pumping, so happy days. Happy days, mate. Yeah.
Fancy a drop goal, definitely.
Who's dropping it?
It depends who plays, doesn't it?
I know, that's fine.
The team come out all right.
Oh, brilliant, cool. Let's leave that bit of a preview there then for that Sheffield game. And like I say, it's we record early in the week, so it's harder to sort of predict some of the scores, and it'll be easier as we are building and we are using a lot of our own players, and we get a lot more information about injuries and all that kind of stuff. It'll get a lot easier through the season. And when we get them 5 home games at home, honestly, I'm just going for us every week because I'm guaranteed a Costa at some point. And I know you are, Paul, as well. Yeah, absolutely. I keep goading them, asking them. The sponsorship's still open, Costa. If you're listening, come and get us. They're not taking the bait. Cool, right? Let's move on and do the bit that everyone tunes in for. Really, everybody loves this part. So we're going to turn the spotlight, and it's good that you put your light on as well, Mike, because we can see you properly now, mate. So we're going to turn the spotlight to you for a little bit, mate. So we'll do a little bit of settling you in, as I like to call it. Paul's favourite part. This,
yeah.
I can see.
Oh, I love this bit.
Your eyes light up, don't you, when we get to this part?
Yeah.
Cool. So let's get stuck into it, mate. Then, so let's talk about what's your favourite holiday destination?
Ooh, probably Thailand.
Thailand.
Yeah, I went there not last Christmas before, and it was it was unreal. Enjoyed that.
Happy days. Happy days, mate. What type of music are you into?
Music, a bit of everything, me. I like my 80s stuff.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, yeah. Mum and dad sort of hammered me a bit of 80s, and my missus likes it as well. So we've all got a bit of 80s in us. But I like anything, me, from band music to a bit of hardcore dance, a bit of everything for me. Easy to please.
Happy days, mate. Happy days. What's your favourite food?
Ooh, has to be pasta. Any pasta for me.
Yeah.
Any pasta, definitely.
Get it. Love it, mate. I ask everyone the last 2. What's your favourite exercise in the gym?
It's tough, isn't that, isn't it? Yeah. Do you know what I actually like? I actually like squats. I like squatting. Yeah. Just doing simple barbell squats. Yeah. I used to hate training my legs, and I think probably the last couple of years I've focused on them more because I've always had, I like to say, chicken legs, and I've always wanted to try and grow them. And I started hammering my legs in the gym, and I started seeing a bit of improvements on them. And obviously now they're going to be deteriorating. We've been on one leg and a peg leg at the minute. But yeah, I do like the barbell squats, although they are horrible. But I do enjoy.
I saw a post actually on social media the other day, and it said you get £10,000 per rep. It's got to be at least your body weight. What exercise are you choosing to do it on? And I sat there and I just thought leg press, because I know I could just keep going on leg press for ages and ages and ages. And then the first comment on there was leg press, and I was like, absolutely, because you can hold your own weight up, and if you can do a squat, you can leg press yourself. So
100%.
yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. And the final one I always ask everyone is, you're having a dinner party, you've got to invite 3 people, dead or alive. Who are you inviting?
Sean Long, we won, just because he's nuts. It's tough in that, isn't it? Sean Long.
Designed to get in the psyche, this one, mate, because I was asked this in a similar sort of thing like this. I couldn't do it. I just thought I just went blank, like totally blank.
It is tough, actually. I think it's hard to think, isn't it? You'd want that, you try and mix it up with a bit of sport, maybe a bit of music. So I'd say just because I liked his music and he was a bit strange, probably Michael Jackson, bit of a cliche, but I think he'd get on with Sean Long quite well.
No one's mentioned him so far. Are you having one
Probably
more?
not. My last one. I have to say, dude, I'm trying to think of more dead people here than young people alive.
Someone said that the other, was it last week or the week before? And they just went, I better have someone dead, hadn't I? I thought, yeah, whatever, if you want.
I'm a big Everton fan, me, so probably Dixie Dean.
Big Everton fan, Dixie Dean. Happy days,
Yeah.
mate. Cool. Right, that's it for the settling in bit. Now we'll get stuck into more of like your rugby league journey and stuff like that. So tell us about like your first taste of rugby league. What did that look like for you? It doesn't have to be playing, it could be watching. And we spoke a bit off air before, didn't we? So you might go into both of the things for this one.
Yeah. No, my first proper taste was down my first amateur club, Finch. Initially, I think I was only 5 or 6 at the time, and my mates from my class were going down there. And I said to my dad, I fancy going down because such a body's going down, such a body's going down. And that was it then. We've literally played. Some of them boys all went down originally when we were 6. We played straight through, and that was me initial taste of rugby, and I loved it, to be fair. I think, my dad was a massive football fan. I think he was probably more set on me playing football, and I think he was probably shocked when I said I want to go and try rugby. But my dad, ever since that, like, my dad's completely flipped, and he prefers rugby now, and he's glad, I went down that route of playing. So yeah, that was my first proper taste, and I loved it. And you make some really good mates out of it. Now I'm still best mates with loads of them lads today. So that was my first proper taste, really.
That was your first proper taste playing, wasn't it? Did you say before though? Because I was going to ask you about like supporting a club, but we know the answer to this because you said it earlier on before we came on air. But you were saying you're a Saints fan, aren't you? But you were watching Saints before you played at Finch, is that right?
Yeah. So I think my first game was at about 3. My auntie and uncle used to take me because they were proper diehards and season ticket holders, and they used to take me, and they used to take a crate in that I used to stand on, health and safety. And I'm sure they used to sneak a few ales in it as well.
I was going to say, yeah, it's a waste if you don't, isn't it?
Exactly. So that was my first taste of rugby, and I think because obviously watching Saints, that's probably made me want to go down and have a bash of rugby. But yeah, they were good memories. I stayed at Saints and watching Saints until they moved from that stadium. So yeah, maybe that influenced me to go start rugby.
How old are you now, Matty?
28.
28. So he was trying to think back to who was in that sort of Saints scene then. So we're talking 25 years ago, aren't we, when you started going?
Yeah.
We're talking the likes of Sean Long.
Yeah. Your Jason Careless.
Yeah. Was Kieran Cunningham there then? Or was he?
Willie Talau, Jamie Lyon, Darren Albert.
Yeah.
They were probably a little bit further on from when I first went watching.
Was Kieran Cunningham there then, or was that a bit later on?
Oh, sorry, man.
Yeah, Kieran Cunningham, yeah.
Sorry, Paul, go on, mate.
Paul Newlove there when you started going. He played. Where was he before?
Do you know what? I actually can't remember him, but he might have been. Because obviously I was so young. But the people I really remember was like your Sean Long, your Cunningham, your Leon Price, your James Graham, Jason Careless. Especially people like Jamie Lyon, because he was for obviously the short time he come over. He was unbelievable watching him.
He's one of the best players I've seen. I remember going and watching Salford Saints 2006 at the Willows. Saints won 12-10 and he was the difference. He was just something else in that Jamie Lyon. He was a fantastic player, wasn't he?
Yeah, so good.
He made a couple of the, do you know, the 1-13s? Because he didn't actually play that many games, did he, for Saints? I don't think he did he? How many games did he play for Saints, you reckon?
He wasn't over. I don't think he was over that long as well.
He
was
weren't,
he?
were he? But
Yeah,
he made some of the pundits 1-13s on the strength of that short spell.
Yeah. Yes, they got was Matt Gidley's replacement. Is that right? Me saying Matt Gidley was a replacement. So Matt Gidley coming a bit after dinner.
Yeah.
And they always used to say like he was his understudy. You know, Jamie Lyon learnt that pass off Matt Gidley. out the back flip pass.
Happy days, mate. You talked about Ayres Finch then, and we talked a little bit earlier on. You kind of stayed there sort of for a fair while, didn't you? So you talked then about like being 5-6 and then carrying on, but how long were you actually at Ayres Finch for?
So I was there till 13. It was a bit of a shame, really. So I think I said to you earlier, like Ayres Finch wasn't really like a well-known team. You know, in St Helens you've got your Blackbrooks, your Thatterheath, your Clockface and stuff like that. So Ayres Finch was only a small little club, and it was my year group. There was no one above us, no one below us, and it was an open age team. That was it. So we had a cracking team, and I think when you get to under 12, you started playing for stuff. So you start playing for North West trophies and Lancashire Cup trophies and stuff like that. And we actually won a couple of trophies, and we had a really good team, to be fair. And in under 13s, we got the chance to play the War of the Roses. So the winner of Lancashire Cup plays the winner of, obviously, the Yorkshire Cup, and we played Wilton Raiders, I think, and we got beat narrowly, like, and we had a good little team going, and a couple of lads left, and then we ended up having been short some weeks, and it was a shame, really, because we had such a good team. We ended up folding, and lads split off. Some went Clockface, some went Blackbrook. No, I don't think anyone went Blackbrook, actually, because they were our arch rivals, but I think some went Clockface, and most of us ended up going to Thatterheath, and that's when I started down Thatterheath, probably and at the end of that season, from under 13s on.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned Clockface then. Paul, I'm digging into your brain here. Do you remember Dexter saying he played for them?
Yeah, he did.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I thought I remember him saying that when he came on this show. Well, a good month ago now, weren't it? A month and a bit ago now. So you talked about then you got to sort of 13, then that started to happen, and you moved on to Thatto. Then, how long were you at Thatto for?
So I was at Thatto till I was 18 then. So I played me 2 years at under 18s. We had when I first went to Thatto initially, there wasn't the level of Ayres Finch. They were, I think Ayres Finch were Premier, and they were probably like Division 2. So it was a bit of a drop off in level for some of us lads. So we ended up becoming like a decent team, over the years to come. And a few lads who went to Ayres Finch with me didn't end up staying at Thatto. They ended up stopping rugby and stuff, which was a bit of a shame.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting a decent side, and I think by the year below us at Thatto was really good. So I think under 18s you end up playing 2 years, and the second year of under 18s we had a lot of lads come through from the year below as well who were very good, and we ended up having like a really good side at that under 18s, and we actually got to the National Cup final and I missed it, so I was in my first lads holiday in Magaluf. So I was a bit gutted on that one. We got beat. So, but yeah, I think that was my last proper memory of Thatterheath. Missing that game, really. I was a bit gutted, but you can't miss your first lads holiday, can you? When it was booked the year before. So
brilliant, mate. I love it. I can see Paul smiling. Paul, you're a bit closer to like the amateur game, or at least, and your dad's a bit of an aficionado, isn't he? Again, good evening. Of the amateur game, isn't he? Is there anything you want to sort of ask Matty while we're talking a bit more about his amateur career?
Yeah. Is there any players that you played with, Matty, that have gone on to like sign for clubs and sign for pro clubs? Any Thatterheath lads you played with?
There's one Thatterheath lad he's in Australia, mate. He's ended up playing a bit of like town and country and that. But one of my best mates who have played from a junior, Josh Eves, he's at North Wales Crusaders. He was the captain of North Wales Crusaders. So he's been around the Saints and stuff like that. I think he's at Saints for a good few years. Been loaned out to Whitehaven and stuff. But a lot of lads who have played against have ended up being at a good level. Some of them fell off a little bit. But I used to play against Danny Lynch. Badger,
Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
at Salford now.
Yeah.
He was at Blackbrook, so we were arch rivals back in the day, and now we're teammates. So, but he ended up coming back down to so obviously after Faster East, I had a bit of time off, and I got a call from some of the Earth Finch lads saying, fancy coming and playing some open edge, and I ended up going back playing, and Danny Lynch was the same. I think he ended up he was at Saints, and he ended up getting released, and he stopped playing. And I gave him a call because I was decent mates with him, and said, "You fancy come down Earth Finch?" And we ended up building a decent team out of that then, really. Before obviously I've ended up coming to Salford. So
yeah, happy days. So what that I'm just trying to put the timeline together, like in my head as we're talking about it. So when did you leave that and go back to Hares Finch then?
So I was 18 at the time when I obviously finished at Thatterreef, and then I must have only had 6 months off. So I said, "Oh, I'm not going to play the next season."
Yeah.
I was too busy going out drinking and stuff, and not really bothered about rugby and hitting St Thomas Town, even though it's shocking. Don't go there for a night out. And yeah, like I obviously I was sort of missing it a little bit, and I was just waiting for maybe kick up the arse for why don't you come and have a shot, like. So I went back down, and our first game was against Oral St James, and they're still a good team to this day, Oral. And we got beat 36-0, and I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing back down rugby here? I could have been at home on couch chilling, and ever since then I've stayed down there. I've loved it, and we've sort of built a really good team. And it's quite a weird story because obviously that first game against Oral, we got battered, and fast forward to a couple of years ago, we're playing them in the final and beating them. So it's pretty nice story, to be fair, that one.
Yeah. You mentioned off air before about sort of like a St Helens pathway, didn't you? And playing for was it like a development sort of?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a weird one, that. So I think I was about 16. Obviously, they was giving out scholarships before that, and I think they just got like a group of lads who'd probably been watching, and they've made like a performance enhancement squad. So it was like you train with them for 8 weeks just in this squad, and I think they'd picked like 4 scholarships out of the 20 lads that were training from like different positions. So I think there was probably like 3 or 4 halfbacks there. They picked one of us, and then same like in your middles and your edges, like centres, wingers. So that was probably the closest I got to actually getting snapped up at all, really. I was a bit gutted at the time, but I said to my dad, I'm sort of glad it worked out in that way. You know, I've been through a lot. I've seen my mates go through a lot of bad times with rugby stuff and got messed about, you know, at clubs and stuff like that. And, you know, I've seen what lads have gone through. So in a way, I would have loved it. You know, I can't lie, I would have loved it to get picked up. That was obviously a dream being a kid, but I've obviously enjoyed my time at amateur as well, you know, and made a lot of good mates through that as well. So it's obviously a nice story to end up being asked, you know, to come to Salford. That was a bit of a bit of a shock to me at the time. But
Well, let's talk about that. That's a nice segue into it. So, you know, you're at Ayers Finch, you're playing. You know, how did that contact start from the club? What did that look like? You know, what did that bit of a journey look like from Ayers Finch into the club?
yeah, so obviously we finished the season last year at Hurst Finch, and we got asked to go back in the Challenge Cup again. So we started training a little bit earlier and was preparing for that. But we had a bit of an aging team, even though we had a good side, we had an aging side. So we probably lost about 8 players just through retirement,
Right.
which at amateur level was a big loss in it. You know, I spoke to you earlier about Hurst Finch not having the youth coming through at the minute. I think the oldest age group they've got is under 15s or 16s, so they've not even got under 18s at the minute. So they've not. It's always been a struggle for us Finch over the years. We've had to recruit people who we know, like I said, about getting Danny Lynch down and stuff. It's always been tough at build a team. So I think losing them players hit us hard, and we was getting rubbish numbers at training. And in the end, we actually pulled out the Challenge Cup, and a lot of lads who wanted to play it, like myself, was gutted about it because we couldn't field a team for it. But we said we'd rather regroup, get ready for the season, hopefully get some more players down. But some lads took this the other way and wasn't happy about it, and actually wanted to play in the Challenge Cup because for us amateur lads, it's massive, innit? You don't want to miss the opportunity to play in the Challenge Cup. You know, I've played in it a couple of times now. Win or lose, regardless, it's something that's special in it. So basically, Hurst Finch was sort of up in the air, and it was only a couple of days after New Year's Day this year my mate rang me who we used to play with, and his cousins with Dave Hewitt. And he said, he's a bit of a joker and that, and he said, all right, mate, how are we doing? I said, all right. He said, do you fancy a trial at Salford? I said, no, what do you want, mate? I've not got time for this. Like, just give over. He said, no, do you fancy a trial at Salford? I said, no, what do you want? Because I'm busy. Because I think we just come back from holiday. I was sorting out the car and that. And he said, no, being serious. He said, Dave's at Salford and he wants a trial. And at first I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. And then I spoke to Missy and she was like, are you stupid? You've always dreamed of that. I said, why not? Like, because I was so used to being a Nurse Finch lad and this. And I was captain of Nurse Finch, so I proper cared about it. I didn't want it. I didn't want Nurse Finch to go, you know what I mean? And my dad was like, it's a perfect time because there might not be a Nurse Finch, you know, so just go for it and have a bash. And that was it. To be fair, I've never really looked back. I think Dave and that and everyone at the club's been mega since I've come. You know, obviously it's a bit of a intimidating at first because you're coming from a amateur background into that environment. You know, a lot of them lads, you know, like your Joe Hartley and that have been around the league and played in that environment and played at that level. So I think sometimes it's just you need a bit of a confidence boost, don't you? You know, especially coming from an amateur background.
Well, what was it like then? Because we sort of asked this question when we had people on, and we asked them quite early on about it. But you know, we've had a lot of different. But you know, by this point, we probably have 5 or 6 people talking about their experiences and leading up to Salford, and everyone's is very different, and yours is different again to like the other lads who you've been on and stuff like that. But you know, take yourself back to like that Oldham game as an amateur player walking out in front of, I think it was 5,500 or something like that,
Yeah.
the crowd that night. What was that experience like? You know, going from playing for Ayres Finch. You know, I won't be disparaging. I don't know like the crowds and stuff like that. But what was it like going from like that environment to going out in front of 5,500?
Yeah, it was crazy that. I guess I spoke to my dad before it, like a few hours before it. I said my last game I was playing was against Blackbrook, and now I'm playing against Oldham. It was just unbelievable. But like, you know, it was exciting, but also terrifying. You know, you've never played. You know, we've played finals and that, and there's been big crowds there, but it's never on that level of playing. It was unbelievable. I actually wanted to try and wear my gum shield, and I couldn't wear my gum shield because I was gagging that much because I was that excited and nervous and sick. I give my gum shield to one of the coaches said, I can't wear that. You're gonna have to take it back off pitch. So that was some experience. That yeah, really good.
And you know what? And I'd love people to like feel the same way that I do when I'm talking to you about it, because as different as it's been for us as supporters this season, seeing players like yourself getting the opportunity and the experience of running out in front of 5,000 fans at a home game, like it's something that you just, I guess, will, you know, always hold and sort of never forget. And, you know, if we weren't where we were now, you know, lads like yourself might not be getting the opportunity to play for the club. And actually, you know, I can tell the level of pride that you've got in the way that you talk about it, and how much it means to you personally.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I can't. It's weird. You can't put it into words. You know, it's like sometimes initially you think it's like a dream, isn't it? You know, for play, especially you know, sports like Danny Lynch and that when he first come and he was like, "What's Salford like?" I said, "It's unreal." I said, "When you get out at home games in front of that crowd, even away games, but more so home games, you can't believe what it's like." You know, them crowds they bring are like Super League crowds out. You know, the amount of people they're chucking in the stadium and that. So I said to him, like, obviously he's been around the clubs and that, and even he said, like, it's unbelievable the support and what the fans give. It's massive, and it is like an extra player up pitch half the time. You know, we've stopped tries that we shouldn't have stopped. That Jack Bibby one, for example. Even Bibby's effort was unreal, but I think the 4 tackles after it, everyone was back behind line, and we stopped. And that's part of it is the crowd behind you, you know, screaming you and urging you on. It's massive. I think that's why it's so special this year because the crowd's been so good, and I think they've actually helped us in certain games for come through. You know, it's special to be fair.
Paul, anything you want to chip in with there?
No, I say it every week. You know, when we get the lads on, we've said how like how they've been good people. There was just something that I picked up on what Matty said there about Ayres Finch. when he said about he didn't want to leave him because he cared. And as soon as he said that, I knew he was going to say something like that because he seems a really good lad, and they all are. But I think to have that loyalty and that care, and then when you bring that to Salford, we've just brought another good lad in, another good bloke, and that I think that's a really really nice thing to say about the club that you play for. You know, I'm at the club. I don't think you can coaches can't coach that. They can't coach that loyalty and that sort of, you know, looking after your teammates and all that. And I think, you know, Matty seems a really sound lad, and you know the journey has come on there, and just hope this injury recovers for you and you can get back out playing, mate. Because I thought we said it, didn't we? He's making really good progress, and your partnership with Toby was just starting to come to fruition as well, wasn't it? So the sooner you're back out there playing, mate, the better.
I agree, and so it's a point to stop and ask a different question. That so obviously you've played 9 out of 9 up until you picking up the injury in that Halifax game. You picked that injury up playing as a fullback. Obviously, you'd been in the halves a lot that season. I think Paul and I both saw you maybe preferred to play in the halves, but what is your preferred position? Is it in the halves?
Yeah, so Dave knew I was a bit of a... Dave actually, I forgot to mention before, but Dave actually knew my coach at Earthfinch. That's how it come about, more or less. I know I said it was from his cousin, but Dave actually played under my coach growing up as a junior, which is a bit of a small circle moment again.
All roads lead back to Chewy, mate. They do.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
What was I talking about? My mind's gone blank there. What was I talking about then?
We were saying about your preferred position.
Oh yeah, preferred position. So yeah, when I first come, like Dave knew I could play a bit of fullback, a bit of half as well.
Yeah.
But like through Earthfinch for the years, I've always played halfback, but I've always slotted in as fullback. And I said to Dave, like, I'm happy to play anywhere, mate. Wherever you want to play me, I'm easy with that. But like it's nice obviously to get a bit of a run in one position in it, you know. And obviously, I think with halfback, it's pretty special to try and get a run because you want to create that partnership with Toby. You know, Toby's a really good lad. He's probably, even though he's younger than me, he's more experienced at this level than me, and he's sort of helped me and guided me on a few things in training, and I've picked up quite a lot off him. So he's helped my game a lot. Obviously, I said to Dave, like, I don't know where Dave wants me to play, but I'm happy just to play anywhere. But my preferred position, and I think I'd like to play there, is halfback, you know, and build that relationship with...
More as a standoff than a scrum half?
Yeah, well, I'm not... a lot of the time, I used to have more of a running game, to be fair. And I think I've been trying to, like, because I've not been fit, I've not felt, you know, because obviously the pre-season that happened and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of fitness behind closed doors and stuff and extras and stuff like that. So I think you're trying to catch up on a bit of fitness. And I said to my dad, I was a bit gutted after that Halifax and the news and that, because I said I was starting to find my feet a bit, get a bit fitter, you know, getting up with the pace of the game. Because obviously the big step up for me. I felt like I was finding my feet a bit, you know, and people were saying, you're doing well, and Chew was giving me feedback, and it was obviously a bit of a kick in the stones, but it's all part of the game, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I don't want to dwell on the injury, but can you just, because we saw it, I mean, me and Paul were sat, well, I think we were sat together actually at that game, and you were trying to stop a try, weren't you? You were getting underneath the ball for a try, weren't you? And keep them back. I think you were trying to hold them up. Is what actually happened with your leg out? Did it get sort of trapped in the turf and turned over, or?
Yeah, so it got trapped underneath. So as he's put his nose through, I've come through as a covering tackle.
Yeah.
I've planted my feet on the line. I sort of held them up a little bit, but they've had a bit of push from behind. I think a couple of players went on top. My legs got trapped underneath. Right. And like the pressure and the crack, it was like a really loud crack initially. So
was it?
I thought I snapped it. I didn't even want to look at it at first. And even some lads were saying after the game, your noises I was making because of the pain. It was unbelievable. Joe was like, I couldn't believe what came out your mouth. Because I was telling the physio, I'm going to pass out. You know, I felt like feeling a sickness and that. And my leg went a bit numb and tingly and stuff. And I knew that I'd done something serious, but probably not what I thought I've done, what the results come of it like.
What are the results? What was the damage?
So I've fractured my ankle. I've done grade 2 ATFL tear, which is like a ligament in my ankle. Yeah. But the main injury I've done is a grade 3 syndesmosis tear. So that's the one I've actually had surgery on. Right. And I've also fractured my fibula as well in my leg.
All right.
which is like an additional fracture from that. That got found a little bit later, actually, on a different X-ray. But initially, when I was actually getting lifted off the pitch, the people who were on the pitch said, "Do you want a stretcher?" And my missus was in the crowd and my dad was in the crowd. I said, "I don't want to worry him." I said, "Just try and pick me up and let me try and limp off first." And every time I was touching my toes on the floor, I was getting shooting pains up my knee. And I told Catherine, the physio, this, and she said, "Oh, you've definitely done your syndesmosis." And when I looked into syndesmosis, it was a long setback. I thought, "Oh, this isn't good, this." And obviously now I think when I've had my surgery, which is good. And I think the consultant said to me it's 4 to 6 months roughly. So if you look at 4 months, if I'm being really hopeful, I could be back for the end of the season. But I'll have to just obviously wait and see on my recovery, my rehab and stuff like that.
You never know, you might recover a bit quicker. I mean, we kind of see where we are towards the end of the season, but you might be in a position where it recovers a little bit quicker and you're back at it and back in contact and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I remember you walking off because at first I thought it's going to be a stretcher job because you'd been down for quite a bit, hadn't you? I mean, the stoppage in play were about 8 minutes or something daft like that. Not daft, but something like that. But I was surprised when you got up and started walking off, but I could tell 100 yards away, like when you were putting your foot down, you could see like the pain and stuff like that. So you always kind of just hope for the best, expect the worst, I guess, don't you? In it, but 2 breaks and 2 tears can't be fun. I mean, we were going to go on to like your day job. You're a sparky, aren't you? You're an electrician,
Yeah.
aren't you, by trade, aren't you? So you're not working at the moment, though, are you? Based on that injury, because you've got to wear the boot for a bit now, haven't you?
Yeah, so I can't work for a bit. I've got to wear the boot for 6 weeks. So it's definitely 6 weeks I can't work for. But I'm not going to rush back. I think, I'm self-employed, but I subcontract to a company and they give me the work. So I'm going to speak to my boss and just see whether like we can do some light duties maybe just to get me back into the groove of working and stuff like that because I'm going to end up cracking up in this house.
Yeah.
And I think my missus is going to end up cracking up with me as well. So, but yeah, it's a bit of a rubbish from my work, but I've got insurances. I've had them since playing amateur as well. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of lads as well who play at Salford have got insurances. It's just a good thing to have. And I don't think I'd play without them, because anything can happen. I've never had a bad injury like this. I've had keyhole in my knee and little bits and bobs and hamstrings and stuff, but I've never had something like this. So it's just something to fall back on. And it's never great, but at least you're sort of covered with your mortgage and bills and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I mean that is the bread and butter of it all, that mate, isn't it? I mean, when me and Paul were talking because we bumped into you, was that after the Batley game?
yeah,
Oh yeah, it was after the Batley game, weren't it? And we said we couldn't believe how good spirits you were in, considering you were on crutches at the time and with the boot on. And I think, we've always said about like doing like the behind the athlete stuff, haven't we, Paul? But I think like from a psychology perspective, it feels like you've got like the right sort of mindset going into that recovery from it. I mean, that might change a little bit if the missus starts getting ratty with you because you're around the house and all that all the time. But it feels like your outlook on it, from what we know and from what we've seen, will be very positive into that recovery journey and really positive about making that rugby league comeback. Is that a fair comment?
yeah, defo. I think the club's been really good with me as well. Everyone, I think even Ryan and some of the board members and that's been really good. Always checking in, asking on me and my teammates, physio, like everyone's been really good. And I said to my dad ever since I did it, I said if it was an amateur, I think I would have called it.
Yeah.
I've been through NHS as going through private, to get this surgery, and private was obviously a lot faster, and NHS waiting times at the minute are ridiculous. And the surgeon actually said to me, if we don't operate on this soon, it'll make it worse.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for obviously Salford for doing that for me is massive, and it just that motivates me and gives me a bit of a kick up the bum as well for, let's say, get your rehab nailed now and get back on the road to recovery and that. So I think my support bubble and everyone around has been really good, which is obviously a big thing.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. I mean, like I said, I think, your outlook and that'll be absolutely, that sort of motivation to recover. I think me and Paul have seen it, every time we've sort of spoken to you or anything. I've kind of come to the end now because that's where we're at. I feel like that's a bit of a sour note to leave it. I didn't really want to leave it in that note, but I think. Look, I mean, we'll be where we'll be in 4 months, won't we? So let's just see where we're at. It is a shame because you'd played every game, and I said to Paul at the time, the worst part of the shame is that you probably you picked up that injury in probably not your preferred role, and we found out actually your preferred role is in the half. So actually, it was true what we were saying at the time, which I think is a bit of a shame as well, mate. And I think. Yeah, I don't want to waffle on anymore. Paul, have you got anything to ask Matty while we've got him here before we close the interview part up?
Yeah, well, just on a bit of a not knockabout side, but on a bit more of a funny side. What's the most interesting
Please bring
thing
us bring us back up, mate. Come on.
Yeah,
End us on a laugh. Come on.
What's the most interesting thing you've done since you've been like sat around the house on your own? Because I know you mentioned before you cut your hair off. You shaved your head.
I think, you know what, that probably is the most interesting
What
thing
did
I've
your
done.
missus say to that when you come home and you shaved your hair off?
Well,
Right,
she sort of called me bluff on it. I woke up one day and I said, I'm getting rid of this. It's doing me head in. I didn't have it cut since the Halifax game. It was a mess. I was waking up with bedheads and that, and I said, I'm sick of this. I'm getting it off. And she went, you won't do it. You won't do it. And then I was there, got my mate round. And to be fair, she actually said, I'm getting used to it now. You suit it. It's quite funny actually. My dad said, which made me chuckle, and it probably made you two chuckle. You look a bit like Paul Whiteside.
He does a bit actually, doesn't he?
It's quite funny when he said that. I thought, I'll have to tell him at pod when I go on. That's a crack at that.
Good looking lad.
No, I'm glad you've asked that. I know, yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Absolutely.
I'll have to grow mine now, Matty.
I think I'm going to end up growing this back out anyway. It's going to be a long journey for me.
Grow it out till you're back. You'll be coming back with nice ponytail and all that, mate. Cool, right, mate. Matty, thank you so much for joining us in this episode, mate. It's been really good, actually. I've actually really enjoyed this. I don't think I've left so much in a bit. So, mate, honestly, thank you for giving up your time on a Tuesday night to come and chat to us, and yeah, hopefully that's give you a bit of a lift as well, mate. So, yeah, thank you for joining us. I am going to wrap it up here because we're like I say an hour every week. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. So I'm going to wrap it up here and just say a couple of things. One, we're on Buy Me a Coffee. If people like the content that we're putting out there, feel free to buy us one. I'll put the QR code on this video. Just helps us out because me and Paula obviously have a Costa addiction. I like to name drop them every now and again, just in case it hits the algorithm and we end up getting on the desk of the Costa executives. And give us a follow on socials. We're more active on there than we've ever been. Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. And no doubt there will be a dog walking video because the club will probably announce 4 loan signings at some point in the next couple of days, which will mean I've then got to go, oh, we've also got these new lads in as well. But yeah, let's leave it there. Then. It's been an absolutely fantastic episode, Matty. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, have a great week, Reds, and bring on the Salford.